right? The art class needs to be exciting. We need to come in and we need to feel like we're coming into a room that's exciting and that motivates us, and we want to, because why would we want to be in a room that has, that looks like a prison, right? And has four walls, and then we, are told just instructions and how to do things with a PowerPoint. So the idea of, disrupting things is important, right? And having a little excitement and play and energy is important. So what I'm really interested in is not just the creative students, because the creative student is really important, right? You need to have creative students, but how do you create creative students, right? Create creative students if you're not a creative teacher, right? It's really important to be creative teachers. And it's really easy to lose that. I know in America it's easy to lose that because we're in an age where everything is really about assessment, right? Everything is about assessment, so we lose that really, really quickly. And accountability, right? And so all of a sudden we have all this weight on us of assessment accountability, and we lose the fact that we need to be creative. Not just in our art making, which is so important, but just the fact that we need to teach creatively. Okay? We need to do things like change up the classroom, right? We need to do things like play with our students. We need to be creative souls. Every day we need to change up the room in some way. Not just like this, but change the world. Bring things in that energizes our students. Make them want to make art, right? Bring something to them that makes them want to make art. That's so important, right? A PowerPoint does not make them want to make art. It's boring. They see it every day in every single classroom. Every single room they walk into, they see a PowerPoint. It's done. It's over already. So to bring something to them, even if it's, a little something, whatever it is, right? But it has to be something that's powerful and exciting and new to inspire them, right? Everything is that moment of inspiration. And even when I just turn on the lights and say, okay, let's change up the classroom. Let's sit on the floor today. What happens when we sit on the floor today versus the tables? What happens when we all stand up at the tables? Not every artist actually sits at their desks and works. I never sit at the desk and work when I make art. Do you? I don't know. What if we stand today? Could happen, right? So that creativity is really important. And creativity, not just in our students, which we focus on so much, right? But the creativity in ourselves as art teachers, right, is so important. And that's really the focus of what I'm interested in. And we have a group of people that have gotten together, kind of a task force of people, if you will, that have gotten together. And it's called the Center for Creative Art Teachers, okay? And we've gotten together and we've kind of are working on this, and we're doing presentations and we're doing workshops, and we're trying to actually bring back in some way this idea of the creative art teacher. It seems silly that we have to do this, right? And art teachers should be creative. That just makes sense. But I'm going into schools every day, not just one school, but sometimes multiple schools, and I'm not seeing it, right? I'm seeing art teachers at the board looking like math teachers. I'm seeing art rooms looking like math rooms. It's not the same room. It shouldn't look like the same room. I shouldn't be confused when I walk into a room and say, which room is this? Is it the art room? Is it the math room? I'm not sure. It shouldn't look the same. It shouldn't feel the same. The kids shouldn't be at little desks, and it shouldn't feel the same, like they're with a little sheet of paper saying, I don't know if they're working on a math problem or if they're working on an art problem. I'm not sure. It should look like an art studio. It should feel like an art studio. It should feel like they're working on artwork. And yet it doesn't. So we felt like we needed to find these creative art teachers, these art teachers that are out there doing these amazing creative things, and start to bring them together and hopefully create more creative art teachers. And sometimes these creative art teachers are out there, and sometimes they just kind of, with the weight of the system, it kind of flounders, and they need to just be re-inspired, which is a little bit of all of us to some extent, right? Sometimes we have that in us, and sometimes it's just kind of, okay, we need to just be reminded of what it is to be a creative art teacher, and that's important too. So we've created, we create videos on our websites, we're starting a blog now, all kinds of things to remind ourselves of what it means to be a creative art teacher. So that's really what we're, oh my goodness.
disruption.
I think the world might be coming to an end. Okay. Yeah, creative classroom, okay. I know. I'm striking that as good. It's part of the creative moment, right? It's pretty good. I have sound effects too. But to remind ourselves what a creative classroom is, right, which is important. And I think to some extent we all have to remind ourselves every day, right, to be a little bit to be creative, right? We see that in our students. We see their moments of creativity, but we have to remind ourselves that too, right? At every level, no matter what we're teaching, right, to be creative in some respects. So I think that's important.
Very interesting. Nice, you inspired us with the creativity now.
Does that inspire you?
Because of your body language and your I mean, you really feel it. I mean, and you deliver it to us, at least for myself. Yeah, very well.
Well, I think, and that's part of it too. I think part of it is not just, and that's hard, I think, when you first start teaching, right? I see that with my students when they first start teaching, they stand up there like this. And I think that's, in some ways, natural, right? There's this fear in your body language is part of that, and then all of a sudden you let go and you start to relax, and you actually start to engage with your students, and that's also part of it. And you start to actually feel a little more alive as you...
I think, if it is okay to comment here, well, the art teachers, to some extent, was away from psychological techniques that involve creativity, motivation, positiveness, right? And that can be applied at a classroom. Plus to how the classroom should look like, plus how the teachers should interact and disrupt the way of order the tables, chairs, as you mentioned in the beginning. I think the curriculums or the methods of teaching was a way for involving this kind of techniques as a component, a very important component when you prepare art or design teachers.
Yes.
So once they graduated without these psychological skills that can change, the way of delivering art or teaching art.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I think there's definitely a history to how we used to teach art, but I think the fact that we at one point probably needed the idea of the desks and teaching very mechanical skills of art teaching.
Exactly.
I think, we have entered, the 21st century. There's a different type of art that we can and should teach, right? You go into museums, of today, and you see the art that's there. So if you do see that, then that should reflect in the way that we are teaching to some extent. And we're not teaching that way at all, right? We're still teaching 50 years ago.
Yes.
So we do need to open our students up to teaching with pencils, like they're writing, and actually free their hands up a little bit. I think that's important.
What age group are you talking about?
I would say K-12, but I would say pretty much anywhere you could. I think it's important to teach creativity at any level, right? To teach more creativity at any level. I would say, I know with my students when I teach at the college level, which is what I do, I teach them to teach that the professors at my university are still teaching all the PowerPoints, right? All the same way. So I don't think it's such a bad thing for us to open that up a little bit. Teach a little more, to think about things a little more creatively.
It's just in my experience of art schools in Australia, it's not about sitting at desks at all. There's some small components of that, depending on if you're studying art history or something like this, but it's all open studio. So that's why I'm asking what age.
Well, I would love to see that because I don't see that at all in America.
Well, maybe in modern
At all.
That's the modern story.
Yeah.
No, but it's not like that in Australia.
Yeah. Because I would love to go to
Come
Australia.
and have a look, because you might
Yeah.
find enlightenment about
Yeah, that would be great.
approach that.
Yeah.
And
Is
that's
that
what
true in
I
K-12?
more of an emphasis of Open Studio all through primary school, secondary school, and in Australia, art education.
Okay.
And so come and check it out sometime.
Yeah, that would be great.
And get a grant for work and do a tour around Australia.
Yeah, no, I would love that.
Say,
Yeah. I might stay. I might come and stay for a while, yeah.
yeah.
Do you understand? I think part of the problem in the United States, particularly in Kentucky, where we're from, is not so much I mean, I think one of the problems in the public school system is that there's just simply not a budget for arts programs. And whereas, you know, my children go to a private school with a lush arts program and wonderful creative teachers, where I'm participating in fundraisers for public school systems that literally have between $0 and $75 a year for their arts programs, which is really sad and pathetic. So I think creativity, on the one hand, I think you can say, well, creativity is born out of, you know, the necessity of maybe having nothing. So, but I think that's one of the major challenges in the United States, and particularly in our region, is a lack of cultural support for arts programs. But then I also, at the college level, one of the things that I find a major challenge is, in addition to creativity, I think that does come out of students are increasingly uncomfortable with subjectivity in general. I think there's such an emphasis on the objective right and wrong answer K through 12 historically, that by the time they come to architecture school, they may have creative ideas, but they're so tentative and so scared to be wrong with them. That's a major thing I have to overcome with my architecture students. But the other major problem that I face with my students, and I would say this is something that's arisen in the last four years, it's very recent, which I'm curious, I'm getting to a question here about your Center for Creativity. Do you address or talk about issues of concentration? Because I find with my students, 10 years ago, I didn't have any problem having students focus for 4 hours at a time, 3 days a week. And now I find my students are so addicted to their smartphones, they have such an inability to get into that creative zone just because they're you know, conditioned to be constantly checking. So for me, in terms of the incoming students, I find one of the major obstacles to creativity is concentration and ability to concentrate.
A few things. First of all, I might say, I definitely think it's going back to your second part, I would definitely say it's the idea of the right and wrong answer, that they need to find the right and wrong answer, because I think there's a lot there. I think once they get to college, they're so conditioned to that, it's really scary that when you give them an open-ended problem on any level, that they have no idea how to just go at it. And that to me is very scary. That you just say solve this, and that they can just do it. Because they're so used to step A, B, C, and D, write it on the board. Just, you know, I want to know the solution. That there is a solution to this problem. And that's something, I don't know, that might be an American thing, I don't know, that's definitely a problem, an American problem. I don't know the smartphone solution, I'm just as addicted, it's very scary to me. I feel like throwing it in the toilet most days for me, because it's a real, we're going to have some sort of like Alcoholics Anonymous with the smartphone soon.
I think
It's a major problem. It's a major problem. And you go to any cafe and you just see people on their smartphones that are talking to each other all the time. It's a problem.
Creativity, I think, is what you talk about, I mean, part of the whole process of learning. When you talk about, I mean, assessment technique, for example, in terms of creativity, how you deal or relate assessment in terms of creativity in the same way you talk about now. I mean, it is difficult, I mean,